Hello. Russia says one of the pilots from the plane downed by Turkey on Tuesday is safe after being picked up by the Syrian army. The other pilot is dead. Meanwhile, the Turkish president says he doesn't want the situation to escalate. Turkey's defending its position, saying the jet entered its airspace for 17 seconds. And in response, Russia has announced that it will deploy an air defense missile system at its base in Syria. It's also warning Turkey of serious consequences. Here's what Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said a short while ago.
Turkey is never on the side of tension or hostility. We're always for peace and diplomacy, and we will maintain that attitude. We will not tolerate our borders being violated, and no one should expect us to. We do not have any intention to escalate any situation. We are only defending our security.
Well, let's get more from the Turkish-Syrian border. Hashim Al-Barra is live for us in Gaziantep. Hashim, so what more will we be hearing from the Turkish side on the aftermath of this shooting down of the Russian plane?
Hazim, the Turks are basically saying that the shooting down of the Russian military plane was not a belligerent act, it was a legitimate act of defense, and that the warnings were ignored 10 times and then they had to take action. If you listen to that same statement by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, he was mentioning another element to the story, which is basically he said that we told the Russians in the past that there is absolutely no presence of ISIL in Latakia, and that the attacks against Latakia are aimed against a Turkic minority, the Turkmen, Syrians of Turkish origin. And the Turkish government in the past expressed concerns about those intensified attacks against those civilians in areas on the border of Turkey. The Turks are basically saying the following: if the Russians are genuine about taking on ISIL, they have to go east to the eastern part of the country, areas that stretch from Al-Hasaka to Al-Raqqa. That's the main stronghold of ISIL, and that's where the fight should continue. The general sentiment among the Turks here is that Russia is using the attacks against ISIL as a pretext, and that their real motive is to embolden Bashar al-Assad to regain some of the areas his government lost over the last 4 years.
And to what extent is Turkey looking to their allies in NATO and the international community for support on this?
The statements that poured yesterday from different key allies, NATO, French President François Hollande and American President Barack Obama, are widely seen here as clear signs of support for Turkey, particularly the statements that are saying that Turkey has all the right to defend its integrity and its security and its airspace. And I think now the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan today at the meeting of the Islamic Organization Standing Economic Committee is the following: it's time for the international community to step in and to find a permanent solution to the crisis in Syria, because the Turks have basically been repeatedly saying that as long as Bashar al-Assad continues pounding and killing civilians, the crisis will continue, it will spill over, and incidents like the one that happened yesterday could happen anytime soon.
All right, Hashim Al-Barra live for us there in Gaziantep, Turkey. Thanks for that. Let's cross now live to Moscow. That's where Rory Challens is for us. Now, Rory, of course, we've been hearing a completely different version of events from the Russians as to what happened here. What more have we heard on that, and in particular on the fate of the second Russian pilot?
Well, Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, has just been briefed by his defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, on the fate of the second crew member of this downed Sukhoi 24. Now, we heard about an hour ago through the Russian ambassador to France that perhaps this second crew member was alive and had been picked up. And now we know that that is true. This has been specifically confirmed by the high Russian leadership. This navigator of the Sukhoi 24 is now safe and well at the Russian airbase in Syria. It was a 12-hour search to find him, a search that both Russian and Syrian special units took part in. But now we have the confirmation he's alive.
And Rory, we've been hearing some fairly belligerent language from the Russian side over the last few hours. How much of that is for public consumption, and how much is it expected that they're going to back that up?
Well, that's a big question, really. I mean, we have just heard from Vladimir Putin saying that the current Turkish leadership is purposefully Islamizing the country. Russia was very, very angry about what happened on Tuesday. We heard some blistering language from Vladimir Putin saying that he felt betrayed, that this was a stab in the back. You know, the Russian position is that this plane was maybe getting at most a kilometre to the Syrian border. Turkish border. It didn't cross into Turkish airspace. That's a line it is likely to maintain. What we are seeing at the moment are various steps to try and sort of muscle up, I suppose. And the Russian defense minister has announced that S-400 air defense systems are going to be deployed to the airbase that Russia has in Syria. This is the most advanced of the S-300 family of air defense systems. It doesn't look like much, a bunch of big pipes on the back of a truck, but it is a very, very capable weapon, and it has a range, depending on the missiles that are being used in it, it has a range of some 400 kilometers. So that will drastically improve Russian air defense in Syria.
All right, for the moment, Rory Challen's live for us there in Moscow. Now, Niamh Barker has the latest on the NATO reaction from Brussels.
Well, it's an important exercise in damage limitation at the moment for NATO. On the one hand, they're calling for calm and a de-escalation of tensions between NATO and Russia. Already relations are at an all-time low ever since the annexation of Crimea last year. But on the other hand, NATO has been very quick indeed to rally to the support of alliance member Turkey. During the course of the extraordinary North Atlantic Council meeting on Tuesday, the Turkish delegation presented its findings along with a video and some other data as to how and why the decision was made to shoot down the Russian jet. According to the Turkish version of events, the jet was over Turkish airspace at the time that decision was made, and according to the Turks, a series of warnings were given to the pilots of that plane before the decision was finally made. That now, according to NATO, is the shared position of all 28 member states. Of course, nobody at the moment is interested in seeing this play out militarily, but we may well see in the coming days much more assertiveness from Turkey and Russia. There may well be a war of words, if nothing else, and at the end of that, of course, NATO may end up playing a much more assertive role also.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.